and welcome to the daily newspaper analysis, which is brought to you by LawSikho. So today we will discuss the editorial. We have an editorial today. So the article is Misreading Defection Law, which has been taken from the Indian Express. So basically this talks about the recent judgment that has come up regarding the defection of the Goa ministers. And because their act has not been taken under the ambit of the defection law, so how is it, we can say that it is a misreading of the defection law, will be discussed here. Next, we have is the news update segment, in which we will be discussing the important news points specifically for a prelims exam. And thirdly, we have the legal news, under which we'll be covering the latest legal judgments and the latest legal developments in the country. Let's quickly begin with the first and the only editorial for today, which talks about misreading the defection law. So why at all this entire question is into news? Because recently the Bombay High Court at Goa, in its judgment, held that the defected Goa Assembly MLAs of Congress to BJP, as in they moved from Congress to BJP, they would not be disqualified under the anti-defection laws. Now, as we know, that anti-defection law basically was brought in the very first place to stop the very practice that we used to call as the horse trading, in which various MLAs or the party, like the members of one party, they used to move and shift to the other party, causing tussle and imbalance and instability in the government. So basically, the anti-defection law came into being with the inclusion of the 10th schedule. Now, this is very important for a prelims exam as well. We have to note that it is under the 10th schedule of the Indian Constitution, as we have 12 total schedules, and 10th schedule deals with the anti-defection law. And in the Constitution in 1985 through the 52nd Amendment Act. So the amendment was 52nd and the schedule was 10th. So if we talk about misreading now, how actually it has happened, so why this is insufficient reading of the anti-defection laws. So basically paragraph 4 of the 10th schedule exempts the defectors, as in in the following situation, as we read what, they will not be liable for any kind of defection if the two parties merge and such merger is approved by 2/3 of the members. So for example, let's say party A and party B, they merged together, and thus by virtue of that, the members of, let's say, party A moved or become members of party B. So that will actually be a merger, and not just that, it should also be approved by 2/3 of the members. Now, in this case, 10 out of the 15 INC leaders left and joined BJP. And paragraph 4 also is an exception. So which only works if the original party has merged with the new political party. But of course, here we know that Congress and BJP nowhere have any signs of merging with each other. And so the merger of the two political parties have to take place before the 2/3 of the political leaders, they migrate. So first there has to be a merger, and then the members can change party, or basically they have membership of the new name or the party, whichever name they carry out to be. But in this case, definitely nothing was this, and that is why the exemption of this particular thing could not be given to these members. Now let's see, in the present situation, the court seems to have overlooked the significance of the words such as merger, like the such merger in the provision, and the court has held that subparagraph 1 and 2 of para 4 of the 10th schedule should be seen as independent entities. Now, how much can that be done on a legal basis is a questionable thing. Now, jurists have however opined that the subpara 2 is a continuation of subpara 1, and making them different defeats the entire purpose of the act in the very first place. So the judgment at present seems to facilitate defection. So the Supreme Court must intervene quickly before the floodgates to defection are misused by the political leaders and their conjoining parties. And that is why this actually could be a negative inspiration for various other such people who carry out defection but still are not charged for that. Now here, you can give a read to the paragraph 4 of the 10th schedule, which talks about disqualification on ground of defection not to apply in case of the merger. So here is subpara 1 and 2, and which actually, it forms the essence of the main paragraph 4, and thus they cannot really be severed or removed from this in the meaning. Now let's see, what do we have for news update for the day. SEBI, a new chairperson. So the government named former banker Madhavi Puri Bush as the chairperson of SEBI, which is the Securities and Exchange Board of India, breaking the glass ceiling of male domination in the field of financial regulation, as she comes out to become the first woman chairperson of SEBI. So she will be hemming the Securities and Exchange Board of India for a period of 3 years. Next, Sanjay Pandey appointed new Mumbai Police Commissioner. So Maharashtra government on Monday appointed former acting Director General of Police Sanjay Pandey as the new Commissioner of Mumbai Police. So he shall be replacing incumbent Hemant Nagrale, and he is a 1986 batch IPS officer. Now let's see, what do we have in the third number? National Science Day, which is actually celebrated on 28th Feb. So on this day, scientist Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman, that is very famously known as C.V. Raman, discovered the Raman effect. Now the Raman also won the Nobel Prize in 1930 for the Raman effect and the scattering of light. So that is why 28th February is thus celebrated in the commemoration of the discovery of the Raman effect. Now students from all around the country make science projects of the state and national levels. Next we have is 4th Jan Aushadhi Divas, which is today, that is on 1st March. So Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Bureau of India, under the aegis of Department of Pharmaceuticals, is going to celebrate their 4th Jan Aushadhi Divas by organizing week-long celebrations at different locations across the country, covering all states and union territories. Now, this will generate awareness about the usages of generic medicines and the benefits of Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. Next and finally on this list we have is the 5th update, which is about International Women's Day week from 1st to 8th March. So the Ministry of Women and Child Development will celebrate the International Women's Day week from 1st to 8th March 2022 as an iconic week as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Now, as a part of this week-long celebration for the International Women's Day, the ministry will organize various events and social media campaigns covering a variety of themes related to women's safety and empowerment. Now, for the legal update, we have more on the news update, guys. On 6th number, we have Union Law Secretary elevated as Delhi High Court judge. Now, this is from the previous day's news. So, in a very, in a first of its kind instance, a union law secretary was elevated to the judge of the High Court. Basically, it's Mr. Mendi Ratta, and he was the law secretary and now has become the judge of the Delhi High Court. Now, 7th we have is the birth anniversary of Lachit Borphukan on 25th February. So basically, President Ramnath Kovind on Friday launched the 400th birth anniversary of Ahom General. Basically, guys, Ahom dynasty was one of the most important dynasties that ruled over the area of Assam. So he was one of the most important leaders and rulers from there. So he belonged to the Ahom dynasty. He was a general actually in the Ahom dynasty. And on this occasion, he laid the foundations of the war memorial and a 150 feet bronze statue of the legendary commander in Guwahati. So basically, he had a very important contribution in winning over the Mughals in the Battle of Saraighat, and that is why he is remembered for his valor and for his bravery. Then next we have is Mirabai Chanu won gold. Actually, all of this is covered from yesterday's newspaper analysis, as there was no newspaper analysis for 28th February. So don't worry, everything is covered in today's slides. Now next we have is Mirabai Chanu won gold. So star Indian lifter Mirabai Chanu has clinched a gold in the Singapore Weightlifting International. With this, she has also qualified for the 2022 Commonwealth Games. Next we have is Sadia Tariq won Wushu Stars championship. So Sadia Tariq won the gold medal in the Moscow Wushu Stars Championship. The event is being held from February 22 to 28. It's already concluded now. So Moscow Wushu Stars Championship is the approved event in the annual calendar training and competition of the Sports Authority of India. Now here we have it for the legal news. So firstly, Lohar is not the same as Lohara, says Supreme Court quashes Bihar government notification. So the Supreme Court quashed a notification published by the Bihar government. The court observed that Lohar was not the same as Lohara, and including the Loharas alongside Lohara was clearly arbitrary and illegal. So the court also reiterated that a person who is treated as a member of the scheduled tribe under Article 342 is not the same as a person brought into the community by an incompetent body. Next, delay by itself cannot veto a writ petition under Article 32 when the fundamental rights are at stake. So in the same case as above, where the Supreme Court quashed a Bihar government notification, it also clearly held that delay by itself cannot be sufficient cause to veto a writ petition under Article 32, where violation of fundamental rights are clear. And the court also rejected the contention that the petitioners should have approached the High Court first. Next we have is that the consent of parties is not necessary to dissolve the marriage on ground of irretrievable breakdown, says the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court held that the consent of parties were not a prerequisite in order to dissolve the marriage on the grounds that it had irretrievably broken down as per the provisions laid down in Article 142 of the Indian Constitution. So given that the parties have been staying separate for the last 22 years, the Supreme Court believes that in the interest of complete justice, the marriage should be dissolved. Next, Ukraine approaches International Court of Justice against Russia's special military operation. So recently, it has actually Ukraine has instituted proceedings in the ICJ against the under the Genocide Convention being violated by the actions of Russia. So the applicant has sought that country's jurisdiction based on the provisions of Article 26, paragraph 1 of the Statute of the Court and Article 9 of the Genocide Convention. So this was all for the day. We hope it was a good session for you. Thank you so much for staying tuned with LawSikho. If you liked it, please like the session and do not forget to subscribe to our channel. And also please follow us on our official Instagram channels as well. And you can join our Telegram channel for these slides. Thank you.